So I just picked up on these new Lurpiv trucks. They have a very unique unboxing experience as far as trucks go. So let's take a closer look. When you open it, first thing you're gonna see is this letter from Oski himself. Very nice little touch. And then you just pull off this top foam. Whoa! And there they are. Just slide out nice. Very unique looking truck. They feel pretty rugged compared to most other new trucks like Aces and Indies. This right here is actually a new pair of Indy Stage 11s for comparisons. They are the exact same size, but look how much shinier the Indy is compared to this. That definitely has something to do with the material that they used on these, which apparently is much stronger. And right off the bat you can feel that they are indeed a bit lighter than the Indies. Something I think is cool is when you look down here at the pivot cup, it goes from square into the ball instead of like almost every other truck on the market, which pretty much just comes down into a ball. Also, the pivot cup looks a little bit more drilled in there than on other trucks, especially like my Aces. I don't know when I'm gonna set these up, but it will be somewhat soon as my Aces are running out of life. Also, one more thing is the built-in washers on the inside of the truck here and the inside of this nut. So you don't need these actual washer, which basically every other truck does. This is a very cool unboxing experience by Lurpiv. For some reason, I'm putting these wheels on right now. A normal unit tool will not fit over these nuts. They are all too big, and even the truck nut is too big.
What's up, squad?
I'm gonna have to use the Ace nuts because these ones just straight up won't work.
Really?
Yeah, it won't fit. It won't
try.
tighten.
Let me do my magic. Dang, what happened here, buddy?
I don't know.
Yeah, I know. You know why I appreciate them greatly? They come with fingerboard ledge. Slash lunchbox. I'd use this as a lunchbox. It's like the biggest flex. You're eating lunch and you're like...
Ace nuts fit. Wow. Look at this. I don't know if you guys can tell, but that nut is definitely too big. Like, all of them are too big. I don't know what's going on with this. Alright. It's finally set up. Really like the way they look. You know they had a problem. What? You know what problem it was? These are Ace wheel nuts. Because the ones that they sent me were too big and wouldn't fit on any bit of my tool.
Those shots are crazy, bro.
Alright, I'm gonna be honest, my overall first impression of the Lurpivs, I was not a fan. So after setting them up, the first trick I actually tried on them in the skate park, granted this was before I was fully warmed up, was a frontside 5-0 on the little like ledge that I normally warm up on. For me, this trick, I don't even think about it. I just like do them and it's no problem. So I hop in, it's going well at first, but I'm gonna need something demonstrate this. Imagine like this is the ledge, and this is my board, and on a good 5-0, you're grinding parallel to the ledge, like that. Imagine, so I start to go into like a susky like that, and when that normally happens to me, what happens is my truck will pinch and I'll just like pop out real quick. But instead, this freak accident happened, which I think could have been caused by a whole lot of things, but it was definitely due to the trucks and me not being used to them yet. Was the board went sideways and did like a full kickflip. I land on it with one foot and just slip out straight to my tailbone, my wrist, my elbow, and it was scary. Like it was like a violent, unexpected slip out. So that was the first thing that happened to me after those nuts didn't fit, and already I had like a bad first impression. But granted, most of this wasn't really the truck's fault yet. I just wasn't liking them so far. So there are a couple things you gotta give trucks slack for on the first couple days that you're riding them. And one is that you have to break in the bushings and the pivot cups, and they're not gonna be as loose as your previous trucks, and they're not gonna feel as good. This is the thing with like pretty much every truck you're gonna ride. They are not gonna feel good at least the first day that you're riding them. So I gave them the slack. I was like, all right, that's fine. And I just kept trying to skate and get used to them. So I actually, after the third day of riding, I did go back to my Aces, which I have set up right now. Some of the differences in specs between these two trucks, between Ace AF1 55s and the Lurpiv 149 millimeters, is they are both 149 millimeter trucks, but the Lurpivs are 2 millimeters higher than the Aces. These are 55 millimeters high. The Aces are 53. And one of the differences I felt while riding is these definitely did feel higher, but they also felt like they made my wheelbase a little bit more spread out. So my tail, I had to push further down to get the pop, which occasionally caused me to whiff the pop because I would miss the tail because I wasn't used to the pushing down that hard. But that's no problem. I actually do get used to high trucks pretty quick. Independents are also 55 millimeters high, and I'll get used to them. It's no problem. I do find that when I have trucks that are that high, I also get higher pop, but a little bit less control. So I'm a big fan of the Ace 53 millimeter height. I think that's like my glass slipper. It's perfect. One thing that I didn't like, which happened all 3 days that I rode these trucks, is, and shouldn't happen when you're riding brand new trucks, is when my board would slip out and run on its own, it would start turning at very sharp angles, kind of like how trucks do when they're late in their lifespan and the bushings are getting worn. So I would like let go of the board or something and it would not run in a straight line. It would turn. Part of the problem, which I think causes this, has to do with the Kingpin. And the Kingpin, though it has good intentions, is probably the biggest problem with these trucks. So I left them at stock tightness, and the point of this is to try to break them in, break the bushings in quickly and get the bushings nice and soft. And at stock tightness, they didn't really rattle, and they won't rattle. But if you loosen the crank, let's say a half go, or let's just do one to go. You can kind of hear this. And what I think causes this is a normal Kingpin, but it's completely reversed. So if you look in here, you can see that there's the normal nut in there. And if you take it all apart, this normal nut will fall out. And if you reversed it, it would just look like a normal Kingpin. What I think would fix this rattling problem, which is what I'm pretty sure causes the trucks to run, because the Kingpin itself will move, it's not set in stone, is if they took this nut at the bottom and made it so that you can't remove it. Just have some sort of screw that stayed in place, which would probably help keep the Kingpin a lot more steady, which would probably make these trucks just ride like more stable trucks. I actually never watched a review on these trucks before I got them. The day that I got them, I did watch a review, and it was Gifted Hater's review. And he was talking about how the Kingpin on his would fall out. And what I'm pretty sure causes this is, since it is like a normal Kingpin, but it's just reversed, you cannot see when the threads go past the rubber. and it's actually the same nut. This is the exact same nut that they use in there, the axle one. So if you look at it, you can see this rubber part on the top. That rubber part is responsible for keeping these nuts locked. So if you notice, for an example right here, when I tighten these down to the rubber, then it becomes hard to tighten anymore. And after the rubber, that's when it starts to actually hold its traction. So you can't see that because they're reversed. So if you loosen this truck past the rubber, you'll have no idea that they could just pretty much unwind themselves. So as long as you keep it tightened onto this rubber, I'm pretty sure the trucks would not fall apart. On the second day of riding these, I did loosen them a half crank because I was so fed up with how tight they felt, and I just needed to get some sort of looseness, to get some sort of familiarity to my aces. But when I tightened them, or when I loosened them, they were not responsive at all. Like they were responsive to a degree, but I had to put a lot more like pressure on each side to get my board to turn. So I'm used to being able to have my front foot straight while I'm pushing, and I can just put pressure like this and I'll turn with ease. Aces are still the best turning truck. These, the way they are right now, are pretty much nowhere close. They do not turn anywhere near as good as Aces do, but they are still in their first stage, and Ace has been around for longer. So yeah, even though they were looser, they didn't really feel looser, and they are hard to loosen because you don't want them to go wobbly like this. So after my 3 days of riding them, I never felt any sort of control, which I really expect to feel after 1 day of riding. And I remember when I got these AF1s, after about 30 minutes, I was totally used to them. These Lurpivs had me scared every time I was riding them. That being said, I've seen everybody else who's ridden them and had things to say like them a lot. And I would attribute that to this sort of analogy. If you snowboard, it'll make a lot of sense. So snowboard shapes have camber or rocker, or like a combination of the two. I ride a flat camber snowboard, which is basically just flat bottom. And this shape really affects the way that you turn. So I've been riding a flat camber board for 6 years. And if I went to a camber board which bows up in the middle, it would feel and respond way, way differently. But that doesn't mean that camber is bad. It just means that I'm not used to it. And I also don't really have the patience to switch to get used to it right now. So I'm gonna stick to riding the shape that I'm used to. And the shape that I'm used to in trucks and skateboarding is Ace. So I'm probably gonna sell these Lurpivs and just keep riding Ace, because I don't really feel like getting used to a truck that I'm going to have to work to get used to. When they come out with a second edition of these Lurpivs, I may have to try them again, or at least do a lot more research before I get them. Some saving graces these trucks had is they sounded really, really good when I was grinding. Like, I was in a skate park on metal ledges, and for some reason it was sounding like granite, at least to me. It may have not sounded like that to other people, but it sounded and felt really good when I was actually locking into grinds. They are light trucks. They're probably the lightest trucks I've ever ridden, even without being hollow or anything like that. And I think they are onto something with the fact that when I was just riding flat ground, they would turn decently even with being tight. And they're really onto something with being able to have a well-turning truck while keeping it tight. I just wasn't really, I didn't see it as much of a pro to keep them personally. So yeah, I think this truck is going to succeed in the long run. I really hope it does, but I don't think that they are as polished as they need to be. That being said, if you want to buy my trucks, which are used, so you can get them for a better deal, I'm probably going to be selling them on my DEPOP. So just check the description and I'll be selling them for a decent price. Alright, that's about it for this video. Hope you guys enjoy it, and peace out, mates.